Man, I like getting new toys. Hey guys, it's Epic, and this is a first look video on an ultralight one-man shelter system that I picked up. Most of you who watch the channel know that I'm normally in a hammock. Given the opportunity, I typically like to be in the air. I don't like to be on the ground. I do have a couple of ground tents that are 2- and 3-man tents, mostly for group camping or going out so me and Rex can camp together. But I don't really have a ground system, a one-man ground system for going out with friends or going out by myself. And this intrigued me. So this is from 6 Moon Designs. This is the Gatewood cape. It actually doubles as both a tarp and a rain poncho. And then there's this optional piece right here. This is the Serenity net tent that can also be used in conjunction with this if you want to turn it into a tent instead of just a tarp, which is good for when bugs get back. So I haven't even opened these things up yet. What we're going to do is we're just going to set this thing up and take a look at it, and I'm going to give you my first impressions. Well, we've got a basic pitch here. I don't think it's perfect, but I think we'll get better at it in the future as time goes on and I get a little bit of practice. It came with an instruction booklet and a patch kit. I haven't even picked this thing up. I just kind of pitched it on my own, just like a guy, right, to not read instructions. Anyway, it looks like the instructions are basically this. I'm noticing a couple of things right away that I am kind of curious about. The first thing I noticed is this zipper here. So the way that it's designed, it doesn't have a metal tab on the bottom so you can completely unzip this. If you can see that right there, guys, I figured that this zipper, it's a double zipper, so it's got this top section here. I figured that it would open up to put on this cape. Maybe it's not supposed to. If anybody else has used this and can tell me whether or not these zippers are supposed to detach, please post a comment in the comment sections below. I'd be curious to see if this is supposed to work this way. I can make it work this way, so we're just going to take a look at this. I have to bring both zippers up in order to open these doors. Looks like we can roll these doors back. I think there's probably a toggle. Yep, there's a toggle. This is pretty standard for a lot of these shelters. My land shan works the same way. So yeah, it's just elastic cord and a toggle to put back the vestibule. I don't have a sleeping pad to put in here yet. The adjustment on the poles said between 45 and 49 inches, which I think is about 124 centimeters. That was too tall. I don't know if it was user error. So I had to lower the pole in order to be able to use this. I just kind of eyeballed it to set it up until it was taut. I've got it pitched out pretty taut. I am just about 6 feet. And right now I've got a lot of headroom. My feet are touching. I can move up though. And without the net in here, and without a sleeping pad, which will raise you, somewhere between 2 and 4 inches off the ground, nothing is touching. I can tell you right now, you wouldn't want to be much taller than me if you wanted to use something like this. But I think it's going to be good enough for my size. I won't know completely. I think I can also raise the poles and pitch it a little higher to give it more ventilation. But my initial impressions are good. Keep in mind, guys, that if you get anything from 6 Moon Designs, if you don't order it from the company, you're going to have to seam seal it yourself. If you buy it directly from the company, they do offer a seam sealing service for $35. If you don't pick that, you're going to have to do all the seam sealing yourself. But this stuff does not come seam taped or seam sealed unless you request it, and definitely not if you buy it from a third-party vendor. So keep that in mind. All right, guys, let's see if we can put this Serenity bug net in and see what it's like with that. Alright guys, I finally got the bug mesh set up. It took me a little longer than I thought it was going to. There are 2 sets of instructions attached inside of the mesh bag it comes in. One is very different from the other. One is for setting the Serenity mesh tent up independent by itself for stargazing, and the other set of instructions are actually for setting it up with another shelter. So I've got it pitched. As I said, it's going to take a little practice for me to get this in the position I want it. This is the first look. But come on inside, let's take a look at this. It is a single side zipper, double zipper, but single side. It doesn't look like they're YKK zippers to me. That's not a deal breaker for me. I do like the YKK zippers, but as long as these hold. So, standard toggle system to hold it open. You see that on a lot of tents. I really want to see if the net hits my feet and my head. So this turns this from a tarp to, I'm already tracking stuff in, to a double-walled tent. This doesn't really stake out, it just hangs in the corners. It just hooks on with like mitten clips and elastic. So it's not really staked out. I'm noticing it'll move on the Tyvek ground sheet. You can use Tyvek or Polycro underneath this. But just laying down without a sleeping pad, my face is not touching. The big deal there, for those of you who don't know, is that if your feet hit the mesh or your head hits the mesh, any condensation that's building up on the inside of the tarp is stopped by the mesh. But if you start hitting it with your head and feet, your sleeping bag can absorb it at the foot box, and it can start splashing in your face. And that's not something you want. That doesn't really meet the requirements of shelter from the elements. But anyway, I think I fit. I'm not claustrophobic in this. I don't mind small shelters. I know some people don't like that. If you are a person who does not like to be in tiny shelters, this may not be for you. Also, if you're over 6 feet, I think this is probably not going to be the pick for you. Initially, I like it. I'm going to need a little bit of practice with it. We'll see what happens in the future. I'm going to be taking it out on a test run here in the near future. I'll get that on film for you guys, and then we're going to do a full review after that. So it looks like to use it as a poncho, you just have to disconnect this. This came pre-connected. It's just got a bunch of clips on the inside. This mechanism connected to this grommet in order for you to put the trekking pole in. All you have to do is unclip these things in order to use it as a poncho. And then when you want to use it as a shelter, this just cinches down right here. And that hole closes up nice and tight. So if anybody's worried about that being an issue for water getting in, I don't think it's going to be a problem. Alright, I have blown up my Neo Air X-Therm and put it in here just as a test. So, we're going to see how much clearance we have inside of this thing. Alright, so with the pad in here and my shoes on, my feet are touching the net. This could be a problem with condensation. I do have a synthetic bag, but we still really don't want to get water on us. So I'm going to have to test this and see if this is going to be a problem. But that's definitely an area to worry about. As far as laying down in here, if I stay close to the door, I should be fine. I can't get much further into the tent than this. My hair is touching a little bit. There's a snap on the inside of this thing that I might be able to rig up something to pull this off of my head. And the outside of this has guy lines to pull the regular tarp out a little bit. So that might give me more room in general in here. And I might be able to do something with these snaps on each end and the net mesh to maybe pull it away from my feet and away from my head a little bit. But my initial concern with this shelter is just condensation dripping down on my bag and on my face. Okay guys, now we're going to take this thing down and I'm going to put it on and see what it's like wearing it as a poncho. My initial concern on that is going to be, well, the main issue is that if I snag it, not only have I damaged my rain gear, but I've also damaged my shelter all in one shot. The other thing I'm concerned about just on logistics is if I've got my shelter all set up and then I'm inside it and it starts to rain and then I have to go outside for something in camp, I don't have any rain gear to put on because it's my tent. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do about that situation. Those are the initial things that I'm kind of thinking about though for using a setup like this. Alright, I've unclipped this harness for the most part except for two parts right here. I don't really want to take the entire thing off because I don't want to take the chance of losing it because then my shelter doesn't work. So I'm going to leave these on the inside to put this on. Okay. So this is what it looks like, guys. It's called the Gatewood cape, so I guess they consider it more of a gate than a poncho. Obviously I'd have to tuck some of these lines up in order for it to not get caught on things. I think that the clips that I saw on the inside of the shelter are on the inside here are supposed to be for these lines, so you can put them up so they're out of your way. I think this thing folds up further if it's too long, but it's got good coverage for sure. I think I'd have to do a little tweaking on this thing to really know what it's like. If you were hiking in an area where you had a really well-maintained trail, I don't think this would be too much of a problem if it was clipped up and cinched in real good. If you're going to be going to some place where you're going to be bushwhacking, I wouldn't wear this. You'll destroy your rain gear and your shelter all in one go. If you're going to bring this as a shelter, I think you probably need to bring a light rain jacket as well if you're going to be, going through a bushwhack. Well, guys, we're going to pack her in. That's all I've got for you today. If you like these videos, be sure to like and subscribe, and make sure you hit the bell icon at the bottom so you get notified when we make future content. You can also check us out on Instagram at Epic Outdoors. Now get off your butts. Go play outside.